If you're not subscribed to Arm Wars, you are a bellend. I got some good advantages at the time.
You did, didn't you?
I want to fight someone big, strong, experienced. It hurt like I want to be strong. I want to hurt people. Just like playing computer games and people might say, "Oh, he's bad for the sport," and he said one or two things.
Where do you see Brian Shaw in arm wrestling going forward?
It's not a combat sport, and care what anyone says.
Eddie Hall. It's done, so.
It's done.
It's done. A lot of positives, really, mate, isn't there? A lot of positives. I mean, if we break it down, we had 8 weeks date to date, of which we could only use 6. 1 week theory, so 5 weeks on the actual table.
Yeah.
And we were talking a minute ago, what do we have, 9 sessions in total, hour and a half sessions?
Yes.
So, from a standing start, mate, I think we can look back at this as a win rather than a loss. I know you didn't come out with the result we wanted, but I do think that you got to show a lot of what we've done. And I'm not just saying this to people watching. My honest opinion is that I think the minor adjustments, different days, little things. That was a match that Eddie was capable of winning. I think he showed that. I think he showed that, mate. I think we saw enough from you, and everybody watching at home will know that. I think if that match goes to straps, you probably win.
Yeah.
So overall, very, very solid performance. Let's start with some questions. Are you happy?
Yeah, I'm happy. Obviously, hindsight's a great thing, isn't it?
Of course.
Looking back on things, and obviously the strap just suited me a lot better.
Yeah.
Brian's definitely got the wrist and hand strength over me, and the strap just took that element away from him.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt as soon as the strap came on, I just felt the strength was my advantage. Just went straight into my wrist. It was so much easier. And
we trained extensively on that wrist hanging.
Yes, just hanging
for so long.
But when you've got someone with as high a grip strength and wrist strength as Brian, that hanging just didn't matter. It just.
Do you know the funny thing was, mate? Even when you were in bad positions, I was very impressed with the way you did focus on holding your pronator.
Yeah.
And even in one of the rounds, particularly one of the rounds you lost, you climbed your way back into the match twice and then gave it away, which is normal.
Yeah.
You're going to make a lot of mistakes. But I took the positives out of that, in that you were in a horrible position and you actually climbed your way back in a couple of times.
Yeah.
And that was really positive because you could see yourself and Brian going through those mental notes, trying to remember what you'd learned and piece it together. Yeah. Was it what you expected, mate?
Yes, I think it was. I think, we've joked all along Brian's going to win this, but I think deep down, we talked about it. We just knew his strength would probably be a little bit too much. If he got me to the B side, his strength would be too much. And we were completely right. He was just too strong to bring back round.
Yeah, on his A side, all those height advantage, structure advantage kicks into play.
Yeah, well, the 3 times I got him on his A side, twice he flipped out, 3rd time was in the strap and I got him.
Well, the plan was whoever hits A side wins the match.
Yes.
That's what we'd said from the start of the camp.
Yeah.
So our plan for everybody at home was to, in any way possible, we have 4 lanes really of blasting through Brian and lowering that arc. The distance between the table, which is greater here than it is everywhere else, didn't allow the press to be something we could have looked at as an option. But from what we did execute on the day, I think you couldn't have done it with any kind of reasonable comment. You couldn't have done it any better than you did. Anybody that has arm wrestled in a match of that magnitude, and that was a chaos environment. I mean, the place was ignited. It went nuts. The refs were all over. You had Devon shouting at the refs. I'm shouting at the refs. Everybody trying to get what they wanted. And Brian was trying to bully the setup badly, wasn't he?
Yeah. And he did, to be fair. I mean, there's one point, I watched the footage back, there's one point where I said he was loading, and the ref said he wasn't loading, and as the ref looked away, he pulled me off centre and to the left.
Oh, he was loading his off.
And then he said go, and I was like, I was already here.
Yeah.
So there was some points where, well, that's my fault. It's up to you, innit? If you're not happy, get out. So there's a few setups I wasn't happy with. I'm sure there's some setups he wasn't happy with as well. I got some good advantages at the time.
You did, didn't you?
I did.
You weren't taking.
I got him.
It was good. Yeah,
I got him good. But I think the biggest learning, because we've We've had mock matches, but I've not been tested like that
You can't
at
really
all.
emulate Brian because
No.
I mean, even when we got the Claymore down, he's a big lad, but he's arm wrestling like an arm wrestler.
Yeah.
And Brian doesn't arm wrestle like an arm wrestler.
Yeah.
He arm wrestles like a novice giant.
Yeah.
With unbelievably, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Who do you get? Who do you bring to emulate that?
Yeah. So I mean, when he got me in that, sort of palm up, extended. Hindsight now, I should have got out, got in the strap, and I probably would have won the round.
Yes.
As I say, we didn't actually get to that point in training. We worked a little bit of B-side, but we didn't do much of the getting out. We did, but not enough for me to sink in.
You would have, and the reason, I'll just explain why we didn't as well, because you're already number one, we didn't have enough time, so we focused on winning the match. It's like that. This is what we need to get: great familiarity, think positive thoughts, and be as familiar as we possibly can in winning the match and doing well in the positions that you were strong at.
Yeah.
And I think you showed a lot of that. If we'd had more time, there's massive layers we can put on. But as you know, our training's been very simple. This lane, this lane, and drill it.
Yeah.
Chest knee pass, as we were describing it, weren't we? Chest knee pass. Do the basics well. Now, a lot of people want to know, mate. There was all the hype and the nonsense about, it doesn't matter to me. We saw what you put in. We know, and we talked about it a lot. Just tell everybody what your feelings around arm wrestling generally are now, and where you see yourself potentially within arm wrestling.
Much bigger respect for it now. I've actually done a match. Much bigger respect. Love the environment. Love the atmosphere. Brian's a pal. I'm not going to say I'm not going to be like that with everyone I go up against. No. That was showman Eddie Hall coming out last night. So I'm not going to be that much of a to any other athlete. I had fun.
Yeah, you did.
I had fun last night. Enjoyed the process. Enjoyed the learning process, and the camaraderie, the social aspect. It's all been good for me. I've got to go back now. I've got to train for this fight against Mariusz Podnoski, which I think hoping is going to be April, May this year coming up, which I'm shitting myself about, but it's a fight I want. He's an hard dude, but like with the arm wrestling, with the world's strongest man, with fighting Thor, I don't bite things off. What's the point of me going up against Joe Bloggs or someone small? If I'm going to fight, I want to fight someone big, strong, experienced. So I've had loads of offers to fight X, Y, and Z, but I think Mariusz is for me, in my world,
how long has he been in it?
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Been in it a long time, hasn't he?
He's been MMA fighting for 16 years now.
16 years experience. Bloody hell.
16 years. And he's
very
hard. So training for that, training to fight Mariusz, get that out of the way. Maybe a rematch, depends how close it is. I'm hoping it, I'm hoping for the win. But if it's close, there'll be a rematch.
And this is in MMA first.
MMA, 4-ounce gloves, no rules barred. Go for it. Get that out of the way, and then get back. I'll probably do some arm wrestling training within that camp, because what I found is with the grappling, this arm wrestling training has made my right arm invincible with the grappling. Like, I'm gripping people, and I do it was before they'd be able to break off, whereas now I'm just locked on. So it's helped my grappling.
So people won't know. We had the brush your teeth training. So the brush your teeth training for everybody at home, something I believe in massively. I work with a company called Wristball, and they have a handle called the Wrist Max, and it's a very, very good handle for blasting your hand and wrist, making it very, very, very strong. Now, Eddie was diligent throughout the entire camp. You would have been morning and night. We started
at least once a day. At least once a day.
At least once a day, every day, working on the Wrist Max, just blasting the living daylight. How beneficial was that for you, mate? Did you?
Oh, massively, yeah. We'd have some really grueling table sessions where my bicep tendon would be on fire, but you were always able to get the brush your teeth, the 4 minutes of paddling, the 4 minutes of rising, the 4 minutes of turning, and that just got the blood through it and actually helped it recover. It hurt like
it's horrible, isn't it?
But it's getting the blood through, it's getting fresh nutrients in there, it's helping it all recover. So even though it hurt like I knew it was actually helping the process.
Did you feel the benefit of that in the match?
Probably not. I think
it looked like you were dominant in the hand and wrist in some rounds.
Must have done, but I think where I probably didn't work enough, that was fine. it was the pronation that just...
Yes.
That's where I was probably my weakest, and I perhaps didn't do enough. The only pronation work I did was a strap, like a knee wrap, and I just did that on a teleline. I did the got a jiu-jitsu belt,
Yeah,
and just did that. But I did, I obviously
you think give yourself a break on that a bit though, mate, because where I actually think your pronation is really strong, but I think the height and the structure of Brian when he's that A side, he's coming over the top. It's turning you over. I mean, you'd have to like release the grip and go inside him. And with Brian and a lot of your experience, it's unwinnable. There'll be guys at home going, well, he could have done like this, like George Zakowicz, and he could have... Come on. He couldn't. He's been arm wrestling for 5 weeks. What he would have done there is just end up pulling underneath and losing. You actually climbed your way back into the match a couple of times from very bad positions, and then unfortunately gave it away again. But the positives in there were that you climbed your way. You were present enough in the match, in all that environment, to continue to climb yourself back into the match. And that was something that I was very, very impressed by, mate. I was proud of you, pal.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I was proud of you. Really, really was. You know, we stood on the train tracks, mate. Didn't get run over, did we?
No, we didn't. No. Brian in his head, I think everyone thought Brian was just going to steamroll, which he did at some points. But when I got it on point, I did him.
Yeah, really solid.
Yeah.
What do you think of the sort of reaction of the arm wrestlers? Because you met a lot of lads, a lot of guys, high level guys, world champions. To you last night and commending you.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of like, you shocked me, like you really surprised me, which is nice. I think we gave off this persona that we're just not bothered. Not Brian's won. We gave it off so much that I think everyone else was like,
they believed it.
He gave up, which is what we wanted.
Yeah.
So it was nice to sort of flip the opinions back and like, right, he's not taking the he's come in and put the work in and respected the sport, which is what I wanted to do as well.
Yeah.
I didn't want to come in and just be like, right, give me money. I wanted to try and beat Brian. That's what I wanted to do. And
you definitely showed that yesterday, mate. Everybody could see how hard you went after this. In terms of the sort of learning process, mate, have you enjoyed it? Have you been enjoying the training, although it's been painful and it's been in the worst environment where you've been getting kicked out of you at the same time?
Yeah, it's been enjoyable, but at the same time, it's been hard. I'm training my ass off for the fight training, trying to get big, trying to get strong, and trying to fight train as well. As you've seen me come in, I'm getting kicked.
I mean, we've had times, guys, so that match is over now. No excuses.
Yeah.
I am telling you for a fact, we've had times when Ed has come in after fight training all day, and his legs were so smashed from getting kicked and busted up, couldn't get under the table.
This is what I was trying to say to Brian afterwards. It's like, mate, honestly, the prep for this, it's like we're getting some positions, and I get down there, and I couldn't get back up because my legs are they were just black and blue.
Yeah.
It's
literally black and blue.
So it's been nice to have a week off and sort of be on the table and feel somewhat fresher legged.
People thought that was excuses. They said, not really.
Every week it was something different. You blew your tricep off.
Yeah. Told my tricep. Pressing 100 kilo dumbbells wine, baby.
Yeah.
And again, people say, well, why are you doing that? You're wrestling. That's my job.
It is.
Content creation, and being strong for MMA. I mean, if you can press 100 kilo dumbbells above your head, imagine that punching you in the face.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's why, I want to be strong because I want to hurt people. It's been tough, man. I mean, even punching a punch bag, I'm fighting with 4-ounce gloves. The swelling in the hands, I'm hitting hard punch bags, hard, for an hour, 2 hours a day, smashing punch bags. So I'm coming in, the hands are swollen, they're fucked, wrists are hurting.
Well, people,
again, these aren't excuses.
It's real.
These are just facts. I'm turning up to training.
The damage in the wrist. I mean, we worked with guided strap to try and we're looking for frequency. Everybody at home, that's what we're looking for. We're not bothered about the pro on the B side, the sparring partner, the fair strap. Matter to us. Our thing was to get Ed ready. To get Ed ready, no one else. And it's punishing for a new arm wrestler that comes in and you tight strap them. So we were using guided straps, and I honestly believe that really showed. When you got into that hanging strap situation with Brian, bearing in mind that Brian has every leverage advantage on earth, you were better in the straps than Brian Shaw. Did you feel in the strap
100%, because it just my weakness against Brian was the hand and wrist, and it just took that away because it was just my arm strength against his arm strength.
Yes,
and I genuinely believe, I say strong. I think my strength is stronger than Brian's.
Well,
I just think his hand and wrist strength is much stronger than mine.
Yeah, and structurally, he's got every advantage on earth with him.
Yeah.
I mean, the man's a biblical giant.
So the strap gave me the advantage, but I didn't know that until I got into it with him, and I was like, felt good. And then it's too little, too late. And then he realised that, and then he didn't want the strap. So
I noticed you going for the nominated strap a couple of times.
Strap,
right? He's like, no.
Yeah. But again, my bad. I could have at any point just spun out and gone to the strap. But as I say, just.
Did you feel like you could? I know we trained that, mate, but do you actually feel like with him you could?
Yeah,
because he was so.
Yeah, no, there was at points where he had me down here, and he was like in the end of my fingers.
Yep.
I could have easily have.
Yeah, just bailed him out.
Yeah, lifted my elbow up and just come out easily. But
Yep.
I think a little bit of ego was like, no, let's.
You were talking
So much about the strap. I was like, I can't ask for the strap now.
I talked to Eddie last night. That's what his head's like. And I said to him, you're in that position. Yeah, and he said, I might have even been in the corner. And he says, yeah, but I love him talking to him.
Yeah, I was
enjoying it.
I was enjoying winding Brian up. I'll be honest. It was good fun. It was good fun. It was like I wind him up a lot anyway, but it was like in a public wind all that was beautiful because I knew how much it was him off. There's nothing he could do about it. It was like public humiliation. It was great.
So we went out last night for something to eat with Brian and his crew, and we were all around the table. You could see the respect he had for you there, and I do believe that you surprised him greatly.
Yeah.
Have you had a one-to-one with him? Has he spoken to you one-to-one and said anything?
No. Just as I say, we both sort of. This match came about. I sort of instigated this with Don, with the king of the table, and I rung Brian up. And I sort of said, "What do you want to do, mate? Do you fancy it?" And he's, "Oh, I don't know. I'm like, "Look, bro, above anything else, we'll just go and we'll have fun." So win, draw, or lose, we'll have fun, and that's what we did, man. And that's what we said last night. It's like it was a great show. We've made the stamp in the arm wrestling world, which is what he wanted, especially. I think that was really important for Brian for a stepping stone. I think it was I honestly think that was a great first match for Brian.
Yeah, I do.
It was a good match, I think if you gave anyone else, it would have been it wouldn't have had any eyes on it.
No, not like that. You two have got a bit of a special camaraderie anyway. I mean, you just naturally.
So I think it was nice for me to sort of come in and help Brian propel into this arm wrestling world, giving that step in because I love to see the man succeed. He's a good friend at the end of the day. So it was nice. It was nice in that respect, and we both, thoroughly said thank you to each other for the privilege last night.
Yeah, you got to have a dance partner, haven't you?
Yeah, exactly. And I always say in life, it's like Thor. People say I hate Thor and all that. I do kind of it, but without people like that in my life, I wouldn't have been as good as I was as a strongman. Without people like Thor, like Brian, like Big Z, you need people like that in your life to push you, to push those limits. I wouldn't have done the 500 kilo if it wasn't for the likes of Brian and Thor and Big Z pushing me, and I wouldn't have won the world's strongest man if it wasn't for the likes of Thor being the same age and that rivalry. It was. You need people like that in your life, and I think me and Brian are the same. Not as much lately. I've been retired quite a long time, but I think that came back today. I think we needed each other for that to happen, and we made it happen.
Do you feel like, mate, that you were? Did you enjoy the environment more than you thought you were gonna?
Yeah, no, I did. I mean, look, I knew it was going to be USA all over, which I thrived in. I was like, this, I'm going to use this to my advantage. Get on it. I think I won probably more than half the crowd over by the end.
Yeah, they were loving it, mate.
Just through pushing it back on themselves.
The environment. I mean, we're taking. I was having a laugh with Kerry Bryan's lass because the emotion in both camps, despite the fact that you're good mates. The emotional investment in that match from both camps on the night was massive.
Yeah.
I mean, you could feel the Devon getting involved. What's your opinion of him?
Oh, he's ace, isn't he, Devon?
He's a great, isn't he?
He's ace.
He's an absolute character, isn't he?
Yeah.
I love the man.
Yeah.
I think he's class.
And again, like people might say, "Oh, he's bad for the sport," and he said one or two things. He's definitely got ADHD, by the way, so excuse anything he says. So have I. And we say things we shouldn't say, and as long as you apologise, it's fine. But people like Devon like that in sports like that are why people watch it. If Devon wasn't in arm wrestling, I dare say it'd probably have half the viewership
It's been tremendous for it.
it has now. And
Very unique lad, isn't he?
yeah, very unique. And that's sort of the thing what I did for Strongman, and I'm glad I was able to bring a little bit of that over, and get that cross from the Strongman scene, and get some eyes over to the arm wrestling, you know, and give a little bit back that way. It was nice to do that.
You had a bit more. You obviously had met Dev before and so on, but you had a bit more time off camera and just milling around the scene with him. Was he what you expected behind the scenes? 'Cause you're very different off the camera.
No, I've hung with Devon before. Very respectful. I think he gets it. You know, it's like athletes like myself, when you've done these feats of strength that are for most people, for 99.9999% of people, are uncomprehendable.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah,
You know, lifting half a ton and winning the world's strongest man. People don't get that, and I think Devon gets it.
yes, he does.
You know, he gets what goes into that.
The
He's
magnitude
a world champion himself, so he gets it. And I think when you come across someone like that in your line of work, you have nothing but respect, and he had nothing but respect for me, and that's reciprocated back 100%.
Have you enjoyed the banter beforehand, mate? It's your place, and it's where you live.
Oh yeah. No, it just fires me on. All that it was going on during the match between me and Brian, it just got me more amped up. Just got me more amped up. Yeah, I probably could have took it to another level, but as I say, you got to read the room a little bit, haven't you?
Of course you have, mate. How was it today? Day after. Most people are familiar. The arm wrestlers are going to be familiar.
Yeah, no, it's good. A little bit of soreness here, but otherwise, I could jump on the table and have a good match now. I don't feel too bad at all.
Which says a lot for how hard he's worked in terms of, and how clean you stayed in the match. You were very clean.
There was one point, I think it was right at the end, and he just got me palm off, and I just no effort, and he looked at me. I was just like, dunk. But that was the only time I was exposed to at the end, and he just held me there. He didn't put any power in. It was like a mutual sort of moment, like
head
play,
nod.
bang. So yeah, that was the only time I was compromised, and I just let it go. It's not worth ripping your bicep.
No, first wrong, mate. Was to say, I was proud of you the way you were present in the match. You were very present in the match. I mean, you know, people might throw stones. You could have done this better. Could have done it. After 5 weeks of arm wrestling, look at yourselves on video at home, guys, and give the guy a break, because I was exceptionally proud of you, pal. I really was.
Yeah, thanks, man.
Now, we're talking about doing 2 sessions a month going forward, a lot more relaxed, just to try and keep you at that level, and then off the back of that. Timescale wise, for anybody that in the arm wrestling world that's thinking, when am I likely to see Eddie Hall re-emerge? Obviously, we've talked about the Arm Wars event in January and coming over and training in that, but that's training, not match. When would we see you potentially in a match again? What's your timescale?
Well, say fight April, May. If there's a rematch, that'd be like June, July, August, end of August, start of September.
So you think it's sort of this time next year?
This time next year, yeah. And I'll say I'll keep me arm in the dabble, so to say. I'll do some arm wrestling training just because it is advantageous to the MMA, and obviously we keep working to each other, and we work on those little weaknesses like we showed. You know, we've got something to go off and blueprint on now, haven't we? You know, where my strengths and weaknesses are, so we can just work on those and come back a better, more intelligent arm wrestler.
Did you catch many of the other matches, mate? Any of the other matches?
None before.
Yep.
I caught the Levon. And Levon was just...
What do you think of the one I'm saying?
Unreal, man.
What's an hombre, that, isn't it?
Yeah, that's it's like Hulk territory. Yeah, it's supernatural, that is.
He's different, isn't he?
Yeah.
And for all the people out there that you know, if you're a strongman fan, if you're one of Eddie's followers and you're just visiting over here, this is a guy who's been around strongman at the upper echelon with the biggest, strongest men in the history. You can see why that guy's special in arm wrestling.
Yeah, just like when you meet him in person, like the thickness of his wrist, his elbows, how long's he been doing it?
Oh, since he was a kid.
Yeah.
So we're talking late teens.
And that's what I was going to say. It makes sense. You can see it's like decades of building up tendon strength, bone strength, ligament strength. You can see it in the thickness of his wrists. And as I say, I think something like that you can't buy. You know, you've got to earn it.
And he arm wrestles weak, doesn't he? He arm wrestles like the weakest guy in the room. Our plan is that to layer this kind of stuff on Ed so that he becomes technically proficient. I mean, you imagine this lad, guys. In a year, when he's working underground, you'll get an opportunity to follow what we're doing. But you imagine him working underground, building on what you saw. That was 5 weeks. Imagine what he'd be like by next year. My God. I'm excited, mate. Absolutely.
Thanks, man.
When you look at the environment of arm wrestling on the night, is that something you found difficult to adapt to? Was there carryover from either strongman or the fights? Which did you find it was more similar to in terms of what you required?
It was a mix between the two. I think I'm more of a strongman element. You know, you're going in and you're performing. It's not a combat sport, and when anyone says it's an art, you know, and it's a strength sport in my eyes. And I think that in itself, it's like the beast came out a little bit. You know, I was just able to put a bit of a show on, and lay down some strength, which I haven't done publicly for quite a while. So it was nice to do.
How was the sort of preparation backstage on the day, getting yourself the timings? Talk to people a little bit about that, Eddie, because that was pretty meticulous, wasn't it?
That was tough because we knew we started at 1. So, you know, I was drinking cups of coffee at like 2, thinking we were going to be on at 3, and we ended up on at near 5. So yeah, the timing was tough. You know, mistimed like the pre-workouts and whatever else. Which was just, so I got amped up pretty early, so I had to, you know, sit back.
Was that the most difficult element? The time?
Yeah, getting amped up like on the dot. Because if you get amped up too early, your heart rate goes through the roof and you're burning loads of calories and your adrenaline's going. So I got amped up too early, so I had to get my headphones in and just sit in the corner, just eyes closed, and just go to a magical place, just bring everything back down. And then when James came to me, he was like, right, you're on after this. It was like headphones out, get the breathing done, you know, a bit more sugar, a bit more caffeine, and off we went.
Here's one for you, mate. Do you buy into the hype? Oh, hype's the wrong word. Do you buy into the reality or otherwise of Brian Shaw's potential as an arm wrestler? You've just arm wrestled a man. Legit, you know better than anyone how good that man really is, because you're the only guy that's ever pulled him outside of Chris Kaufman in any type of competitive environment. Everybody's putting massive expectation on the lad. They all think, he's a man slayer, he's this, he's that, he's the other. With what you've seen about the nuance of arm wrestling, with the stuff you've done in the camp, and knowing what Brian's mental state's like, capabilities like physically, where do you see Brian Shaw in arm wrestling going forward?
I think he'll do well. I think he's got a few years before he's up there with the big lads, for being honest. I mean, we're seeing his A side is pretty bulletproof. You know, I think if he gets any arm wrestler onto the A side, I think he's got a good chance of beating him. I'd say his B side's weak. You know, he gets on. As soon as he's opened up, he's weak. And
Palm up, it's problem.
I think that's where he's got to work the most. Is if he gets out, he's got to work on that really. But yeah, I can't give, you know, say 5 weeks training. I can't get too much advice out, man. He beat me, so he's doing all right in my eyes.
Fair enough.
I'm not a weak man, and I'm not a man that takes things like and he beat me. So
I wanted to just touch on something else, mate, before we wrap it up. You've obviously got your son Max into strength training generally, and watching Max, I know you're heavily invested in allowing the lad to enjoy strength sports and enjoy training. Is arm wrestling something you think would be good for kids? Have you, looking at what you've done, do you think the sort of elements required in arm wrestling, the strength training and the mental focus and so on, is it something you'd be happy for your son to follow, to do, to get into this kind of world?
Yeah, potentially, yeah. I mean, Max is a tough one, you know. He just likes playing computer games and off. So it's a tough one to get him to do anything but that, really. But he enjoys his gym, and you know what? And they're always having arm wrestles at school.
Yeah.
You know, he's always been arm wrestling all the kids, and he's lost his arm wrestles. He gets a bit upset about it, and it's like, mate, but guarantee you, man, you're giving them your arm out there. You know, and He's probably just letting them beat him and then getting frustrated. So, I think someone like Max would enjoy, just for that aspect, just for going back in school and being like, boom. And who knows, it might spark an interest. But as I say, I think with kids, you can't push anything. You've got to slide things in front of them
and see if they bite.
And if they bite, great. And if they don't, just take it away. So we'll see.
Yeah, I always think about that with my sons, and whether it's a sport that has physical benefit or detriment, because it's quite jointy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's quite, you know what I mean? It's one of those sports where it's like brilliant to learn. There's a lot of good stuff about it, but it's quite heavy. So it's one of those things where I always think, how early would you get them in, you know? So here's one for you as well, mate. Everybody talks about, and the whole arm wrestling world and strength sport world's been sort of really under ignition with it. Straight carryover from strongman into arm wrestling. First thing, do you agree with that a bit? And if you then had to sort of refine that down to things that you've trained for strongman that do have a direct correlation to arm wrestling, what would be the events that carry over the most, or is it not really a thing?
Not many. I think grip is probably one of the main things that will carry over to arm wrestling, and then back strength. I think people neglect how strong your back has to be to sort of maintain that position. I think those two things. I mean, obviously you're going to have strong biceps and forearms from strongman, but I think grip and back strength are probably the best two carryovers. And then I would say the body-mind connection. And that sounds a daft thing to say, but
what to me?
You're that connected with your body as a pro athlete. I think that walking into something new, I think you pick things up quick because you're so connected with your body. I
always remember when the first time I came training, I said to you, "Are you a good dancer?" You remember that? Remember that? And you looked at me like, "So if you think I'm dancing with you, you're very much mistaken." Yeah. But the reason for that is because that mind mapping, the movement, the dynamism. If you can map movements very easily, you made a comment there. You said, "Look, I've always had good mind map. I could get." You said you unicycle, didn't you?
Yeah.
I think that kind of thing, if you can pick up skills, new skills very well.
Yeah, I think that's completely true. You put me on a unicycle, I'll be at first, but I can guarantee you within an hour I'll be able to whiz around the place on a unicycle.
Yeah.
No doubt in my mind.
And we had many times when we were in training, I was becoming a believer quickly. Because we'd go through something and in a relatively short period of time, in a week, we'd come back and Eddie had already clearly internalized that. We had this very clear thing where we'd show up at training and you were wooden at the start, but by the end of the session, you were back to fluid. Usually that takes people so much longer.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw, with all due respect to Brian, it's taken longer for Brian to get to that level, hasn't it?
Yes.
And I think that's to your credit, mate, and it's exciting to see where you can go with this. Last one. Looking at all the strongman world at the moment outside of Brian Shaw, anybody else you think can do well at this game?
Oh, God, yeah. Thor. Thor could do well. Obviously, big, strong, big levers, good grip, but Thor could do well. I'm Bibby, Mark Felix. I think just super strong.
And we got Felix coming to the Titan House in January. That's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, Felix has got such massive hands.
Yeah.
Like a bunch of bananas. They're probably the biggest hands I've come across.
They're massive, aren't they?
Yeah, humongous.
It's like stay away from my missus.
Yeah. The Mark Felix could be a surprise. I'm Baby's just got such thick, a bit like the van. Just everything's huge about
massive,
him.
Isn't it?
Yeah, so I think he could do really good.
He might be coming in Jan as well, actually.
That'd be cool. I think who else? Oberst. Robert Oberst.
He's interesting, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a weird one, Oberst. He's very. You'd be surprised how good he is at like technical stuff, like Highland Games and shot put. And he's very good at those sort of things. Very explosive. So I think like Robert Oberst could be pretty good at this.
Obi, if you're watching, let's go. So, ladies and gents, it is now about 12:30 over here in Atlantic City. Honestly, guys, hope you all enjoyed the build up to this match. Thank you for those of you who've helped back Eddie. It does matter to him. Thanks for the support. Lad's worked his off. I'm super proud of him. I hope you guys at home are as well. I can't wait to see where Eddie goes with this. It's been an absolute pleasure watching you do your stuff, mate. I've loved Loving you having in my game. Yeah, I wish I could say to you I could come over and deadlift some stuff like that, but I think I'm past my best.
I've got enough time.
Yeah, that's it. And then the ability to wind back time. Mate, absolute class effort. I'm proud of you, pal.
Thank you.
Proud of you.
Thank
Guys, we'll see you again soon. Biggity bong, mother fluffers.
If you're not subscribed to Arm Wars, you are a bellend.
Arm wrestling. It's my passion. It's something that not many people know about, but they should. There's something so special about this sport, whether it's the camaraderie from the community, or whether it's the action, the fear, the excitement, the explosion that happens in the center of that table, one-on-one combat. It's something I wish everybody could experience. I think if the kids of this world had an opportunity to see arm wrestling in the right light, they'd fall in love with it too, just like I have. I've been seduced by this sport. I love everything about it. And I want to share that passion with everybody else in the world. So, check out Arm Wars. Check out arm wrestling. Support our community. Get involved.
I'm obsessed with wanting to be the greatest. It's part of who I am.
The world's premier supermatch arm wrestling format.
It caters to the purest of the sport.
Arm Wars is the choice by far.
The old monster rule.
It's an arena like no other. It's the best of the best.
How far are you ready to go?